we will be going live in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're live.
Good morning, Owasso. This is the Twins with Owasso Live, and this is the Morning Loop. It's currently 8 a.m. like normal. It is about 70 degrees outside already. Actually, doesn't feel too miserably hot outside yet, but it's going to get there, so be prepared for that. Make sure you have a water source if you're working outside, and if not, enjoy the AC on the inside because it's going to get up to about 98 degrees today. So, that being said, traffic conditions are pretty fair going into Tulsa. There's no real congestion, so if you haven't left yet, congrats. You're going to have a really quick ride in. Now, as far as events on the local calendar, nothing's really changed, so we're just going to hop right into national news. So, Kamala Harris, the current VP of the United States, has picked her VP running mate for when she attempts to assume the presidency. And that will be a man, or as our title suggests, it's a straight white male from Minnesota by the name of Tim Walz. Oh, you got it wrong there in the title screen. It's just W-A-L-Z, Tim Walz.
You said that. You told me that. So you told me wrong.
I did. But yeah, so Tim Walz. So this guy, again, the Democratic Party not being very progressive, they pick a straight white man, another old straight white male, to be the running mate. And this guy, he doesn't really have a whole lot going for him. I mean, progressives thinks he do. Like the guy who runs the Young Turks, Cenk Uygur, seems to think he's the greatest thing since sliced bread. But I would say the way his state's been run and it speaks for itself, his track record. But I'll go into the positives, I guess. He kind of did paid family leave as something that he pushed past. But again, if you know anything about running a business, you know that passing paid family leave doesn't hurt big corporations. Do big corporations want to pay for family leave? No. But can they take that cost? Yes. You know who can't take that cost? Small business owners. If you are a small business owner and you hire a girl or a woman that gets pregnant and goes out, it's like, okay, you have to pay me paid maternity leave and paid family leave now. It's like, you as a struggling small business would be like, I can't do that. So all's his policy does, or all's that paid maternity leave and paid family leave thing does, is hurt small business owners. Now, you can say I'm heartless and cruel for not thinking that should be a human right, but I'm looking at it from the business owner's perspective. They're trying to make a living too. They're trying to do what's best for them and their family. And having a gun held to their head by the government going, you will pay your employees to not be there for a couple months, or we will put you out of business, doesn't seem like a fair practice, especially when you're competing with giant corporations who don't really have to turn a profit anymore in order to stay in business. So, if you don't understand that logic, then you are lost in this debate because you don't care about profits and how running a profitable business works. So, I pity you if you're unable to understand what I'm trying to say, if you're not picking up what I'm putting down. So, I will say, I would say that that's not a bad thing that he passed, but again, it's not a good thing for small business owners. And then he passed no kid goes hungry, like all kids have free, poor kids get free school lunches, which I'm pretty sure that's been a thing for a really long time. So I don't think that's a new policy. I mean, maybe it is in his state, but I mean,
Yeah, I feel like that's been something that's been around
for
for
a
a
very
long
long time. They've always had some types of subsidized school meals for kids who, yeah.
But it also, from biblical speaking, it sends kind of a wrong message. Your parents are supposed to be able to feed and house and clothe you. If they fail at that, they're a bad parent. It's not, school lunches.
Yeah, well, what you're talking about is it's not the government's job to bail out poor parents. It's the church's job.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was always the thing. They used to have back in the biblical times, they used to have like a place where they put spare food and stuff out for the local kids, and they would, the parents would have to walk out in this field and grab the stuff and leave. That was like, it's kind of like what we called the old version of food stamps.
Yes.
Like you have to get that giant book and pay for each individual item. Like that's what it needs to go back to. It needs to be like the people need to be like, they need to feel shame in doing that again.
Yes.
It's like, and they go, but kids don't need to be shamed. Well, kids don't know. Kids don't know better.
But also it's the more of the point I was hitting on is it's not supposed to be something that is expected. There's a reason why a lot of, I think, liberals nowadays have the mentality of the government should take care of this. Mm-hmm. I said, no, the government should not take care of poor life decisions. The government is not there to bail out people who make poor life decisions. That's the whole point of where corporations, which I agree with, corporations don't get a bailout. Let it fail.
Yeah.
A corporation is the same as an individual. If you fail at something, you don't get bailed out. Like, if someone's going to bail you out, it needs to be your friends, your family, and people who care and love you, not Big Daddy government coming running in and to save the day. Oh, don't worry. Here comes a bailout.
Yeah. I agree. So those are some of the positives, but, now we're going to go right into the negatives. It's like this guy, I mean, do you have that picture, that video playing underneath me there? I mean, just read what that says.
Yeah. Well, this is a post by Graham Allen. Says, this isn't Iraq. This is Minnesota under Tim Walz as governor. This is America if they win. Trump 2024 is the only way. And I'm not this is literally looks like right after the George Floyd riots, if you had to ask me. But who knows when this is? This could be at any point in time.
Well, I mean, it's like what he said. It looks like it's downtown Afghanistan or Iraq after we just did a bombing raid on it. Like, I mean, that's pretty profound how bad that damage is. That is.
Relation to this.
Really no sound. It's just the audio.
Yeah, it's just the ambient noise.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I mean, that's pretty amazing how bad that is. I mean, that's billions of dollars of damage right there. And he didn't do anything to stop it. He was like, well, we got to let the people riot and do their thing because, George Floyd, right? It's like, look, you have to have some semblance of law and order. And just because one person gets killed doesn't mean the whole world can go up in chaos and anarchy. I mean, again, he died under questionable circumstances as well. It's not like this police officer just killed him with malice. I don't think that's the case. And if you do, then you're looking for the worst in people. He asked to be taken out of that car. He asked to be put on the ground. And like I said, they had to control him while he was on the ground. So, I mean...
Not to mention he swallowed a bunch of fentanyl.
Yeah.
So that way he didn't get arrested.
Yeah. Swallowed a bunch of drugs. So there you go, folks. This is what you get when you vote for Democratic and liberal policies. You get your homes destroyed, you get your businesses destroyed. And they go, and people are, again, this is where people go, that's what insurance is for. No, insurance doesn't pay for riots and civil unrest. Every single person who is a business owner or homeowner on this block doesn't get their insurance paid for because this is what they would consider riots and civil unrest. There is a riot and civil unrest exclusion, at least in every Allstate policy. Yeah. I know it's got to be the same at State Farm.
War also is excluded from it.
Yeah.
So if a civil war breaks out, you ain't covered.
Yeah.
You are not covered for a civil war.
So if you are the person who thinks that you're smart and you go, this is what insurance is for, you're wrong. Talk to your insurance provider. Talk to any insurance provider. They'll be like, yeah, war and civil unrest are not covered. So if there's a riot outside your house and somebody lights a match and burns your property to the ground, that is not covered.
And even if there isn't a company that does cover that, I guarantee you they're getting out of the business after something like this.
Yeah,
happens.
They're not going to insure you anymore. They're going to be like, well, we can't afford to do business in big towns where stuff like this happens. We're just going to do.
Said if we have that, we're only going to do it in the suburbs.
Yeah, we're going to be a suburb company only. So, again, think, people. You got it. You have to understand the ins and outs of your insurance policy. You have to understand the ins and outs of absolutely everything, or you're going to get screwed. Now, if you have a really good lawyer, they could probably argue that technically you can't define this as a right, but you're going to have a darn good lawyer who can argue your case. And that's probably going to cost you a lot more than your insurance company would even let you have, because eventually you wouldn't see that initial insurance cost because they wouldn't initially cover it.
Yeah, and remember, insurance companies have lawyers. They have lots of good lawyers.
A million lawyers who are ready to just defend the company at all costs. They'll be like, yeah, no, you're not getting a dime out of this company. Congrats.
Yeah. You have to pray to God you get a good, reasonable judge if you want to even have any hope of winning against a insurance company, because it's ridiculous.
Yeah. So anyway, this is the state he presided over. This is what you're going to get if you elect this guy into office, because that's the level of his resolve. And if you think that's not a good example, why don't you play this clip of one of his war veteran buddies talking about how
Will do.
He's not a good leader and he's a coward.
You know how I felt about Joe Biden, and I was right about that. And I'm going to be right about Tim Walz. He's a terrific pick for two reasons. Number one, he loves to fight, and he's a great fighter. So when he said, oh, we got a real estate baron and a venture capitalist telling us how the average guy should be, get out of here. J.D. Vance uses eyeliner. This guy's a football coach and a teacher. He barely got into politics in his 40s. He's terrific at fighting.
Sink Uger says that Tim Walz is a terrific fighter. Well, let's listen to what some of his veteran buddies might have to say about him.
He abandoned us, you know. I mean, what the hell kind of leader does that? I mean, he just, as soon as the shots were fired in Iraq, he turned and ran the other way and hung his hat up and quit.
Number two.
There you go. Yeah, his number two is what I was telling you about earlier. He passed legislation that, guaranteed school meals for kids. So, I mean, there you go. I mean, the guy, I'll give him the grace here. It's like, look, you never know how you're going to react under combat and under combat stress. It's something different. Now, I haven't even experienced that yet, but you train for it. I mean, we do not live fire. I mean, you do a live fire crawl. You do the Omaha. So you actually do get shot at. You know you're safe there, but everything the Army does trains you to be prepared for when those bullets fly, and then at that point when you're in combat and you're taking men out, it's your choice to not lead them and run away. So there you go. I mean, that's when the pressure's on, he ran. He left his men to do their own thing. Like that, what happens when he's dealing with the pressures of public office?
I mean, he's already demonstrated that he's not the best and strong leader that they think he is. I mean, he let his city burn to the ground right there, as we see in that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll pull it back up for a second. There we go.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, his city got burned to the ground. What type of person just allows their city to be burnt to the ground? That is what we're talking about here.
And the other big thing that, I think is going to be a divided issue, especially amongst progressives versus people who are conservative or more Republican-leaning, is in his state, he got legislations passed that will put tampons in the men's restroom. I mean, if this is the kind of stuff that he's passing in order to look good to the public eye for progressives, I mean, he's not a serious person, not a serious candidate. It's like, oh, I don't want to anger the LGBTQ trans mob, so I'm just going to say, yeah, we're going to pass this legislation so they like me. It's like, there's no reason for there to be tampons in the men's restroom. Period. But these are the policies that he's passing in order to garner favor with the public. So there you go. So that's kind of your breakdown of who this man is, Tim Walz. So that's her VP pick. The Democrats not being very progressive. That's another straight white male.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's a straight white man. They did not go with another person of color, Hispanic, Asian. Even like that. They say who's the person from Pennsylvania that they wanted?
Oh,
originally?
they wanted Shapiro. Yeah, they wanted
not Ben Shapiro, whatever the Shapiro governor name is.
Yeah, they didn't want because they're afraid. They know that Israel is a hot topic, and they don't want to defend. Democrats hate Israel. They're more pro Hamas than they are pro Israel. So they can't risk putting a Jewish guy in office because it'll make them look bad.
They're courting evil with not choosing Pennsylvania, because Pennsylvania is a swing state.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Minnesota's even
no, it's not
a
even
swing state. It's not even in play.
No, it's not.
But Pennsylvania is, and they literally gave up probably their best option of a VP pick to appease the pro-Palestinian protesters.
Yeah.
So they're literally kowtowing and bowing down to our enemies. This is why I do not vote. I don't think I'll ever vote for Democrats ever.
Mm-hmm.
Is because they court and flirt with evil at every take, and it's not good. I mean, there's a reason why I said everyone's like has no clue about. And you talk to these people who are protesters, they're like they have no clue. It's like it is written in the Palestinian Charter that Israel
will be
destroyed. It is not like, oh, they're occupiers and they're making us live in an open air prison or whatever. Like, no, it is stated in their first statement in their charter is Israel will be no more.
Yeah. Well, it's the left wing kind of thought. It's like the same thought process that was had in the Vietnam War. It's like, oh, once America leaves, they're just going to embrace the South Vietnam. The North will embrace the South like brothers and sisters, and they're just going to live happily ever after. Like, we know that's not the case. We have the pictures of the South Vietnamese folks trying to jump on the last helicopters out, a lot like the pictures of the images of people in Iraq trying to jump on those jets, trying to get out of the
Afghanistan.
But yeah, they were not embraced. If you know anything about history, millions of people were executed, killed for basically working with the U.S. And then you had the boat people after that who were just trying to sell from place to place, trying to get, what do you call it? What do you call the status? It's what all the migrants are claiming.
Oh, refugee
status.
Yeah.
So they're trying to get asylum status all around the world, and the world was like, nope, Vietnam can handle its own. So again, it's this fantasy that they live in. They go, oh, everything's just going to work out just fine because people are inherently good, and you have to basically look at all of human history. It doesn't take much to realize that people are not inherently good. Yeah. We are all self-interested. We are all self-centered, and we're not going to do what's best. We're going to do what's in our own best interest before we put the interest of people around us or the people in need. Because if you can't take care of yourself, you can't take care of others, and that is the sad truth.
Yep.
The sad truth of reality.
Yep.
And people who, like they said, people on the left who are like, well, it's not my money. I'll utilize other people's taxpayer money to basically take in and the world's sick and helpless. It's like, no, you're destroying your country doing that. Yep. It's like, oh, how nice it must be to be. I'm so generous with other people's money.
Yeah. How noble of you.
Yeah. And that's the God's honest truth. So I know we kind of went off on a tangent there at the end, but we just want to make you understand what our perspective is on this. And, I think it's a silly perspective to have if you don't think that if you don't see the world the way I see it, then you're just kind of living in a fantasy world. It's like, oh, we can do anything because we can just print money and do whatever the heck we want. We can solve the whole world's problem.
If you think printing money is a way to solve the world's problems, look at Venezuela. Look what happened to Venezuela. Yeah. That's exactly what's happening to us right now.
Yep. So anyway, that's about all we got for you today. That is the Democratic Party's vice president pick. So there you go. So this is the Twins with Owasso Live. This was the Morning Loop. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you too can stay in the loop. God bless you. We'll see you later.
See you later, everybody.